Hey guys, Sax here. This is a brand new channel where I am breaking down some of the other games that I love to play. If you don't know anything about me, I'm a Destiny 2 Sherpa and content creator primarily. However, things in the D2 space haven't been looking too great. And on top of that, there's been some other incredible games that have come out that I feel like over time maybe I would have missed. But this one that I'm talking about today is one that I couldn't ignore. And this game is Arc Raiders. Now, if you come across my channel, you've probably seen a couple of shorts that I put out about how much fun I've been having with Arc Raiders. And the truth of the matter is, Arc Raiders feels like the late 2000s, early 2010s gaming. Coming out of high school, early years of college, this is what I felt. Now, I know that we're in an early time where the meta is not perfectly defined and not everyone knows what they're doing. However, I've just had some really, really lovely moments. And then I've also had some moments that have just really made my heart race. Just times where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And something happens, whether it's some sort of material pops up or, you know, that raider that crossed my path as I'm navigating, trying to make it from A to B and to make it back to the elevator to get out safely. I just find a way. And it doesn't happen all the time. There's plenty of times where we can't exfil, we can't get back to the elevator and go. But the truth for me has really been something quite lovely and playing on two different sides. So the experience for me between playing with others and playing solo, they are very different experiences. Now, it is the same game. However, one thing I will say is I found it personally, this is just for me, I found it a little harder to do some of the quests based on, that could just be unfamiliarity for myself. Just not really knowing where I need to be heading, the things that I need to be looking out for, and then honestly just being kitted properly. You know, I'm still playing that game where I'm trying to balance out the risk and reward of, okay, I'm going to take this stuff in with me. There's been a couple of times where I've used materials, I've leveled up weapons, and then somehow, some way, I've got pinched between Arc on this side and a couple of Raiders on this side, and I'm up a creek. And that's just the nature of the game. I get it. But I do find the solo experience, one thing that balances that out for me has nothing to do with the game devs themselves, Embark Studios themselves. This has to do with the community. I don't know if you guys have played much solo, but if you haven't, maybe you've been intimidated. You're like, well, I don't want to go in without myself. Go in and try this next time. Next time you go in, try not shooting the first raider you see come across your map. And I know as a multiplayer game, that's something that we're not necessarily used to. I know for me, if I see another player, I just consider that an enemy player. But there's been multiple times where I've got onto the map and I've been trying to exfil and I've been in dire straits. I've had no heals. I've had way too much loot. Honestly, things that if people would have taken me out, they would have really benefited for. And just the goodwill, it's been very amicable. It's just been like, hey, we're getting in, getting out. Use that proximity chat. If you don't, maybe you're like me. I've never really played another game that had proximity chat. And maybe you're like me, you go in there and you just try it. I had to throw it on my mouse so I'd have it more accessible. Again, it's not very normal for me. That's not something that in Destiny or other games I've played, really proximity chat hasn't been something I've experienced. And so getting in there and having those situations and making call outs to those players that are around you, right? Calling out to them and saying, hey, I'm friendly. Hey, I see Arc around the corner. I can help. I can drop heals. I can do whatever you need so that we can get out of here, right? It's way better for both players to be able to get out rather than, okay, we're going to fight right now. We're going to make a ton of noise. We're going to drop whatever you or I have, you know, depending on what we get, and then maybe be able to get out. But now you've spent so much ammo doing this. Hey, let's get out together. So that's been the solo experience. The duo experience has not been as good. Again, many people in the community have already talked about it, so I don't need to necessarily hammer it over and over again. But if you don't know, when you load in with two players, they typically load you into a raid with 3-player teams, right? And they try to fill in, however, to preserve the experience for solo players, they try not to mix too much solos with trios. If you go in solo, you can have fill squad turned off. As you can see on my screen right here, that's how I have it. So if I were to go in here, I could click play and then it would just launch me in. And then I would just be in there with myself and a lot of other solos. However, I could get in there and get into a match where if they needed people to kind of fill the lobby out, I'd be able to get in there with, you know, some unbalanced situations. However, that happens a lot more in a duo situation where they're not going to put you in a solo, but they have to put you somewhere and they don't have duo matches. So you're either between a solo match or a trio match. So the best situation I've found for playing the game, I like playing it in trios to start, like at the top. Next, I like to play solos, and then finally would be a duo situation if you're going in there. I think if they can find a way to incentivize the duos, they're going to get data, right? There's a ton of people playing the game right now. They're going to get data. If they can find from the data that there are enough people in duo squads to necessitate a duo queue or something, you know, that's something that's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility. So let's talk now about the other things I like about Arc Raiders as someone who primarily plays Destiny. And if I'm not playing Destiny, typically I'm playing single player games as a solo player, whatever, a story, action adventure, things like Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, and then coming back to Destiny. Whereas with Arc Raiders, something else that this kind of scratches for me would be my time that I spend dipping into Fortnite. Anytime they bring back nostalgic characters into Fortnite or maybe early meta weapons or things of that sort, I will dip in with some of my buddies into Fortnite. That's actually kind of been detrimental to me because the amount of times that I load into a raid as a player who has some experience with Fortnite, and then I turn around and I start playing Arc Raiders, sometimes I will find myself not realizing that, hey, as soon as the raid starts, you're in the mix, right? So that whole portion of a battle royale where you drop in, you're looting, you're doing all that stuff, that is non-existent. That's just non-existent in this kind of situation because you are looting, but you're in the fight, right? So what I mean by that is in battle royales, just in general, right? You all are in the plane or the bus or whatever you want to call it. You drop onto the map, you hit the ground running, you get out, you find whatever loot you're going to have, and then you're picking that up. And then if there were other enemies around you that kind of dropped in, you're taking them out, and then you start looting. Well, they spread you out a little more. Fewer people on the map, at least on the beginning maps, fewer people on the map, and then you're just in the mix. You could come across someone very quickly and have a fight and you be on the map only a couple minutes, or you could come across no one the entire time. And so my mindset has been, well, if I don't encounter other players, if I don't fight with other players while I'm on the map, was this even a successful experience? Well, that's where my mind, I've started to shift it, right? I've started to shift to a place where, okay, I'm trying to loot as much as I can, explore as much as I can. I'm trying to see if I can go through some of these quests, right? These quest lines before I drop in, see if I can just knock out anything, right? Like I have this one here that's going on for Shawnee where I have to get in here and I need to destroy a couple Hornets and then get a Hornet drive and destroy a couple Snitch and get the Snitch scanner. You know, and you can see I've got the Wasp and the Wasp drivers done, but these are things that have taken time. They, you know, I'm pretty new to this game. I never played in an alpha or a beta. And so getting in here, understanding, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to set myself up to do these quests? That has been a change of pace for me, but the more and more I play, the more and more I enjoy it. And so I'll be honest with you. I've not consumed a lot of content surrounding Arc Raiders. And right now, I'm actually pretty happy about that. I'm happy to have this experience where I get in there. I don't need to be the sweatiest and the best and the top of something like this to get enjoyment out of it. So right now, you may say, where are you at with your experience with the game? I'm a little over 7 hours with the game. And if you know me, to be quite honest, I covered Destiny Rising. I covered Destiny 2. And then I will occasionally play some other shooters, but I usually don't spend very much time on them just because when I'm playing games, it's usually to create content for them. This has been something that have just enjoyed it. And so making a video like this does not feel like work for me. This feels more like just enjoying it, talking about the game. So there are a few things that I, have been less excited about, but I think I'm going to do a separate video on those and keep this one positive. These are my positive feelings and just top of the head feelings. So guys, this is a second channel for me that I'm starting to get off the ground, and I want to cover more variety content. So if you appreciate the content, you appreciate the commentary on some of the coolest games and just killer games out there, consider subscribing. Until next time, be blessed, y'all.